Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Let's take a look at the third week of August. That's August 2023. And let's get started. Okay, let's see. All righty. Give me a moment here. Always slow. So last week was quite interesting. It's been an interesting month, has it not? All right, let's take a look. All right, so we're looking at the week from the 13th, which is the Sunday, to the 19th, which is a Saturday. And Sunday, the 13th, we have Venus making her inferior conjunction to, or interior conjunction, as Ian Orderly likes to say, to the Sun. This is the highlight of the Venus retrograde cycle. And it is occurring at 21 degrees of Leo. So this is Venus in the heart of the Sun. The whole mythology behind Venus and her going from, in this case, evening star to morning star, which is the shift for her, is the story of the descent of Inanna and then the rising up from the underworld. Inanna was was she Sumerian? I think she was Sumerian goddess, connected to she was sort of the Venus of, she was the queen of heaven. And so at this point we have this Venus retrograde cycle all in Leo, and it's been going on for a while. It's retrograde for 43 days, I believe. And so Venus in Leo is really talking about love of self and love, like, because Venus is the planet of love, and Leo is the sign of the heart, right? So it's like at the core of your heart, what is it that you truly love? And a Venus retrograde in Leo is an opportunity for us to really connect with our own divine spark. Leo, as a fixed fire sign, is our divine spark. It's the spark that we keep, the hearth fires that we keep tending to in our life, to keep spirit in the physical body, right? The heart is the center, the core. In fact, in the Kabbalah, we can see here, this is Tipra. This is where this is the Sephiroth of the sun. And while the sun is in Leo, and then we have, this is Netzach, the Sephiroth of Venus, and we have this conjunction of these two planets in this sign, and this path that runs between these two places on the tree of life is the death, is the path of death, Scorpio path. And so there's this energy just innately when Venus and the sun come together, but especially during the retrograde cycle, where we can say that we are dying to the old and being reborn to the new. So this is going to be an important point for us. And the interesting thing about this particular degree of Leo is actually the Leo is the Venus of Tanya Chutkin, the Judge Chutkin, who's in charge of the January 6th case that is right now, going through all its preambulations. I don't think that's the word to use, but everything that's going on with that. So she herself is having a Venus return with Venus in the heart of the sun. So it's very, very interesting for her as well as all of us. Okay, so So that's what happens on Sunday. The next big thing to happen is Tuesday the 15th. We have the sun make its first quarter square to Uranus. Now, Uranus, of course, is in Taurus. Now that the sun is in Leo, it is in a square to that. It's a first quarter crisis in action square. And it's the seeds, the action that's being taken is based on the seeds that were planted at the initial conjunction of the sun Uranus, was at the time when it happened in May, was at 19 degrees of Taurus. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the Sabian symbol for that and for the actual square. This particular, on the tree of life, we have the sun here in Leo, and we have Uranus. This is the seventh of Uranus in Taurus. So this path is getting activated. Well, this path is the path of Aries. It's the path of the Emperor card, right? So this square, Sun square Uranus, is asking us also with that Aries energy to sort of be who we truly are, right? The North Node is in Aries, but also Chiron is in Aries. So there's a wound around this, right? And so some people will be working from their authentic selves, and some people will be working from their wounded self. And so, it depends on where the person's at as to how that's going to express itself. We can expect to see both things. On Wednesday, the 16th, we have a new moon in Leo, and I'm smiling about this because this new moon happens to be sitting on my Uranus in Leo. So we'll see what that means for me. But we have the new moon in Leo, and it's at 24 degrees of Leo. The Sabian symbol, which we'll review again, but we can do it briefly here, says totally concentrating upon inner spiritual attainment, a man sitting in a state of complete neglect of bodily appearance and cleanliness. So this is about, the guru who, has been in meditation for years and years and years, and just like the hair is crazy and he's unbathed and all of that, right? So there's that. So that's the image. So it's the image of concentration, total concentration on something. And so with this new moon in Leo, I think we need to figure out what we are going to totally concentrate on, because that's a seed that we'll plant with this new moon. We also have on the same day, we have Mars making a waxing trine to trine. Did I say trine? A waxing trine to Uranus. This is occurring at 23 Virgo for Mars and 23 Taurus for Uranus. This is a creative, self-expressive trine that flows. This is a flowing energy from the seeds planted on the Mars-Uranus conjunction that occurred on the 1st of, Mars-Uranus conjunction, the 1st of August of 2022, so last year. Any cycle with Mars is a 2-year cycle. That's why the initial conjunction was so long ago. The initial conjunction was at 19 degrees of Taurus. And then if you remember, Mars went retrograde in Gemini for a really long time. So it's taken a long time for us to get to this first trine, this trine of self-expression. All right, so let's take a look. And you notice that 19 degrees of Taurus, right? So we have the Sun Uranus conjunction occurred at 19 degrees of Taurus, and also the Mars Uranus conjunction started at 19 degrees of Taurus, as it were. So what we have here, this vibration for August 13th is a 28-1. So this is the inferior conjunction, right? And that 28-1 sits here on the tree of life. It is associated with the 2 of Wands and the planet Uranus. On Tuesday, when the sun makes its first quarter square to Uranus, we're in a 30/3 vibration. This is the path of life of Tanya Judge Chutkin, incidentally. And that's associated with a Hesed here and the planet Jupiter. And on Wednesday, August 16th, we're in a 31-4 vibration. That is the 5 of Wands, and that sits here in Gabora right here. So that's what these mean on this side. So let's look at things one by one. So let's look at this conjunction of the Sun and Venus. Now, one thing I want to point out, that this Sun-Venus conjunction is in a very tight square to Uranus, right? And then, of course, the next day, or is it the next day or the next day after that? The 15th, 2 days? Well, anyway, shortly thereafter, wait a minute, I'll tell you. Hold on. Hey, shkabibbles. 2 days later, thank you, we have the exact square of Uranus and the Sun. And of course, the day of this this new moon, yeah, no, that's it. It's not the moon. Okay, it's not a new moon. Of this, I'm so sorry. I can speak. We have 2 days later, we have the square of the Sun and Uranus. Now, we just recently had last week we had the square of Uranus and Venus, and that was the second of 3, because the first one happens on the 2nd of I think it was the 2nd of July. Well, it happens in July. All right, let's just get to this. I don't want to confuse you. I know what I'm talking about, but it's not coming out of my mouth right. So let's continue. Venus is in inferior interior conjunction to the Sun, highlights the Venus retrograde cycle. Venus in the heart of the Sun, Venus in the underworld. This illuminates the core of your beingness. Okay. Now, 21 degrees of Leo, we have an intoxicated chicken dizzily flapping their wings, trying to fly. That's the Sabian symbol. So this is a pretty heady experience. The often negative and at times ludicrous first experience with spiritual teachings. In Near Eastern symbolism, wine, intoxication, and vineyards always refer to the ecstatic experience and to the contact with the mystical or occult schools. So mysticism does require a little bit of insanity, quite frankly, because you have to be willing to go to places where you have to be willing to go to the places of the unknown, and sometimes you need to sort of loosen up for that. Chickens here suggest that we are dealing with human beings who are standardized products of their culture, right? 70% of people are within a consensus, right? These are the dizzy chickens, because they get exposed to this high vibrational energy and they're like, woo, what just happened to me, right? They feel high, right? Okay. And undifferentiated specimens of a social norm, brought accidentally or prematurely to mystical or occult experiences. They usually react then in a highly confused and dizzy manner. What reacts in them is the ego, and the ego can never fly, experience spiritual transcendent realities in an effectual manner. The key word here is premature expansion of consciousness. So a very interesting symbol for this conjunction. It may seem like through this process, people are kind of like losing their marbles, but it's okay. It's okay. So we have, and of course, the square to Uranus kind of brings that even more forward. We also have a trine to Chiron in Aries here. And so this is an opportunity with this trine to Chiron to really get to the core, to the heart of the matter. How do you feel about yourself, right? Who are you? And And really, who are you? We are all sparks of the divine in different levels of density. And so those who have less density or less, or vibrationally work on a higher vibrational level, tend to, well, I don't know if we want to, they have unusual lives, right? They're not going to have the regular life that most people, that 70% of the population has, but we're all going through this process of evolution and awakening. And so we're all going to react in a different way, but it's going to feel, quite frankly, it's going to feel very unstable to people. So let's have some caution, some awareness, right? And some compassion with this experience, because not everybody is able to hold this vibrational place, and it can cause people to go a little off kilter. Okay, but the idea of the inferior conjunction to the sun is getting deep within. This is a very internal thing, and so the more internal you can get, the more you can connect with your own spark of the divine that lies within your heart. And that love of self, not in a narcissistic, malignant narcissistic way, but knowing that you have worth within yourself and you don't need other people to tell you how wonderful you are, right? That's what narcissists do. Or how terrible you are. That's also what narcissists do. So this can be actually a great healing of that, if there's a tendency, or certainly maybe an increased awareness of that. Now we can imagine how the more famous malignant narcissists might deal with this. For the ex-President Trump, that's going to be happening in his 12th house of self-undoing. So we'll see how that pans out for him. On Tuesday, the 15th, we have the sun, right? Make the square to Uranus. This is occurring at 23 degrees of Leo Taurus. And this is a crisis in action. The first quarter square is a crisis in action. And the function of that is the actions that we need to take are to build foundations, to create a foundation that will hold the new, whatever was planted at that new moon, right? And so we have the planting at the new moon at 19 degrees of Taurus. It occurred back on the 9th of May of this year. And it was a 21-3 vibration, which is the world card, by the way. And the world card on the tree of life sits right down here between Yesod and Malkuth. And if you were to overlay the body, the physical body on this, this would be the birth canal. And so this is how we come in through this path. Where did I put my little thing here? Through this path, this is how we incarnate, right? We come through the mother's, this is the womb, right? And then we come, and this is connected to the moon, Yesod, right? And then we come through the birth canal, and we come out into the world, usually screaming, like, I can't believe I'm here again. Anyway, so that was the initial vibration of the day that the sun and Uranus came together. The symbology of that day, of that 19th degree of Taurus, was a new continent rising out of the ocean. The surge of new potentiality after the crisis. And the key word here is spontaneity. So there's a couple of good things here, right? It's after a crisis. So, you know, we're in the middle of a crisis. We'd say, well, what crisis is this going to be? Well, what crisis is it not, right? We're in a crisis of conscious. We're in a crisis of democracy. We're in a crisis of environmental crisis, existential, heart crisis. How are we treating each other? What's going on here? Crisis between men and women. Crisis brings us into the moment, into the present moment. So that, and that's the only place we have power anyway. So it's what you're doing right now that matters more than what was, because what you're doing now creates what will be, right? All right. So now we have the sun at 23 degrees of Leo. In a circus, the bareback rider displays her dangerous skills. The audacity and perseverance required to control and play with the powerful energies of the vital realm in human existence. Horses are always considered symbols of power, right? Horsepower. And here we have a bareback rider, a woman using her skill to sort of rein in that power, but without tools. Like, really, she's bareback, so she's using her body to drive the horse in the direction that the horse wants to go in, or that she wants the horse to go in. So how do we wield our power? That's another question here. And it's in a crisis and action square to Uranus, which is now at 23 degrees of Taurus. A jewelry shop filled with valuable gems, the social confirmation of natural excellence, certification of personal wealth. And of course, you know, the more jewels you have, the more beautiful things you have, the more personal wealth you have. But really, personal wealth is not in things, it's in you. And so we look again at this energy of what are you, you know, how do you feel about yourself? How are you going to love yourself enough to make your life better? And making your life better requires that you make other people's lives better, because we just all live here together, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. We have the square. Here's the square, Uranus and the sun. Let's see, and of course we have the moon here as well. The moon very close to Venus, because in the next day we're going to have the new moon. So we know that this is just prior to the new moon. Let's see here. We also have, let's see, why do I have this? Oh, okay, I think I have this because of the next thing. Oh, okay. I know why I have this. So we have the sun and Uranus. I'm like, why did I do this? I don't even know here for time. Sun and Uranus, right? Sun here in Leo, Uranus and Taurus. The path it's activated is the Hermit, the 9, healing. Healing is necessary. This is a wisdom path, right? And so we need to, the action that we need to take needs to be informed. And this is Virgo. This is a Virgo energy, and we have Mars and Mercury, both in Virgo. Now Mars had a hammer of Thor the day of the indictment of Trump, the first, right? And then the next week, which was the second week, we had another hammer of Thor with Mercury and holding the hammer. So Mercury and Mars have been pretty damn busy. But we can also see that this Mercury and Mars, if I can find my cursor here, is trine Uranus. Okay, it's in a trine to Uranus. In fact, Mars is going to be making an exact trine shortly to Uranus. We have the North Node here. This is in Aries. Why do I have this? Let's see why I have this done. I'm not sure why I put that there. All right, let's go to the next thing. Sorry. I get all into it and then sometimes I forget why I did it. Okay. Let's look at this new moon, because this is a big one. This is a biggie. Why is it biggie? Because we have Uranus squaring this new moon. This is for Washington, D.C. Apologize to anybody who lives anywhere else. I mean, other than America. So we have a new moon at 24 degrees of Leo, totally concentrated upon inner spiritual attainment, a man sitting in a state of complete neglect of bodily appearance and cleanliness. The interior focalization of energy and consciousness at the expense of all forms of outward activity and care. This traditional image of the Hindu holy man in the typical Western mind may well hide the fact that without proper training and intense concentration, what we usually consider spiritual attainment, self-realization, and the God experience is not possible. The intoxicated chicken of the Leo 21 symbol may learn self-discipline if there is a way, if they want to fly. There can be no halfway measures if the goal of the true yoga is to be reached. And we have total concentration. So there really is sort of a need for that total concentration. This new moon squares Uranus, as I said, first quarter crisis in action square. It also trines Chiron and trines the north node and sextiles the south node. So it's activating the nodes. So while it's not on the nodes as in a conjunction, the trine and the sextile are flowing and opportunistic energies. They're softer, they're sweeter in a way, but it's easy access. So we can, whatever we're creating at this time, we can apply it to our evolution because the nodes do that for us. The nodes give us, show us the direction of way, the way we need to evolve, Here we have Mars, and why do I have Mars highlighted here? Well, of course, it's doing this trine to Uranus. Mars and Venus are about 30 degrees apart from each other, so they're semi-sextile each other, so they're connected in a way. These two are going to meet up in the beginning of next year, and they're going to meet up in Aquarius. Next time they get together, they'll be in Aquarius. But this Mars energy, Mars in conjunct Chiron. No, that's Mercury. Okay. And also on that day, so we have, on the 16th, later in the day, we do have the Mars make the trine to Uranus. It's actually part of a grand trine here with Pluto. So this is an opportunity for big change. It's also in Earth, so it's manifesting. And of course, the vibration is a 5 vibration. The 31-4 is a 5 of Wands. This is in Gebura. Okay. Oh, that's where I got them. That's why I did this. Okay, let's go back. I have Mars activated here because we're dealing with Gebura right here. This is the path. Okay, that's for my Kabbalah students. Mars waxing self-expressive trine to Uranus. The cycle began on 8/1/2022. It was a 15/6 vibration at 19 degrees of Taurus. That conjunction was also conjunct the North Node at 19 degrees of Taurus. So that was very significant, the 1st of August of last year, very, very significant. And if I remember correctly, that may have been right around the time of January. Was that the January 6th thing? I think so, yeah. All right, the commission, right? So the new continent rising out of the ocean, the surge of new potentiality after a crisis. When the mind has been emptied and light has been called upon to purify the consciousness, freed from its attachment and contaminations, a new release of life can emerge out of the finite, out of the infinite ocean of potentiality, the virgin space. What will it be used for? So this is a rebirth time, guys. It's a rebirth time. That's why we need to concentrate. For any woman who's had a baby out there and they're like, push, right? Push. You have to concentrate. You can't just half push. You got to push it out, right? This is what's being born at this time. Now we have Mars at 23 degrees of Virgo. A lion tamer displays his skill and character. Interesting. We had the bareback rider. Now we have the lion tamer. And each one of these symbols is this ability to control the animal nature, the lower animal nature. The need to tame one's vital energies in order to fulfill one's destiny. Got to concentrate. We're fulfilling our destiny, folks. We see here the development of the concept of training. The key word is resoluteness and patience. Trine Uranus at 23 degrees of Taurus. Again, we have the symbol of the jewelry store. So this is a flow of energy of our true selves. That's why it's so very important when we have that Venus inferior conjunction to really go within and look for the answers that are held within us. Okay, very, very important energy. And so this month continues with these themes of change, evolution, rebirth, but it's like all coming together. It's almost like there's a convergence of these energies that are helping us to be reborn into this sort of new human on this new planet. And we do have more, we need to have dominion over ourselves, and we need to understand ourselves at a level in which we can look at ourselves with the eyes of love, but not have it be an egotistical love, but a true sort of like love because you are. Love because you are here. And if we can love ourselves like that, it's very easy to love other people, right? So it all starts with us in a way. And we have to come to terms with that. When we look at somebody like Trump, we're looking at somebody who really at the core of his being doesn't love himself, even though that sounds ridiculous because he's so narcissistic. But narcissism comes from a point of always having to look outside of yourself for validation, but you can never get it, because if you don't have it on the inside, you can never find it on the outside. That's what the Charge of the Goddess says. In fact, let me grab my Charge of the Goddess, and I'll end this video with that. So just give me a second. I got to go grab it. And I find this very apropos to say, because the star goddess is Venus. The star goddess is Isis. The star goddess is Inanna, right? The divine feminine, Mother Mary, right? Mother Mary Blue is sky blue, right? She's in the sky. She's the queen of heaven. Hear me. Hear the words of the star goddess, the dust of whose feet are the hosts of heaven, whose body encircles the universe. I who am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars and the mysteries of the waters, I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me, for I am the soul of nature that gives life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you. And you who seek to know me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not unless you know the mystery. If for that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Love yourself so that you can love others. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone. Namaste.